Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. I hope you're all doing well and welcome if you are new. Today we're going to be discussing the top books I've read in 2021 so far. If you kind of know me, you know that I'm a tough critic. It takes a lot for a book for me to rate it 5 stars. It really has to transport me to a different world. It truly has to be perfect and it has to give me that 5-star feeling. We all know what that 5-star feeling is. When you read it, you just know if that book is going to be 5 stars or not. And unfortunately this year I've had a bit of like a mini reading crisis. I went up until March having not read a 5-star book yet, and it was getting me down. I thought I was doing something wrong. Was I picking the wrong books? Was I just in this weird reading slump? I've been in and out of reading slumps all year so far, taking a couple of weeks where I'm reading so much and then a couple of weeks I won't read anything. It's been a very different year for me reading wise, and I don't know whether that's because I've started this booktube channel, so I've put more pressure on myself, and I just feel like this pressure to only rate books that are absolutely perfect to 5 stars rather than kind of considering my own enjoyment. It's been a bit of a mess, but I have, in the 3 months and a bit that we have been in 2021, I have been able to have a few standout books that I will truly take with me for the rest of my life. So I wanted to give those books a shout out and talk through those books with you in today's video. So without further ado, let's hop into the top books I've read so far in 2021. The first book I'm going to mention is the book that actually got my first 5-star rating of 2021, and that is Me, My Dad and the End of the Rainbow by Benjamin Dean. I couldn't not give this book a 5 stars. It just gave me that 5-star feeling. It was pure perfection to me. This book, if you didn't know, is a middle grade queer book following our main character Archie. His parents have just split up, but they're keeping another secret close to their hearts. And one day when a pride flyer falls out of his dad's pocket, he picks it up and starts to research it and realises that this could be the answer to fixing his family. So he takes an adventure with him and his 2 best friends to Pride in London, where he meets loads of different characters, a really diverse range of characters. It's such a wholesome, pure book and I literally fell in love with it. I read it in 2 days. It's like a 300 and something page book and I just devoured it. I couldn't stop reading it. I absolutely loved it. There was laugh out loud moments, there was heartwarming moments. It was just, I couldn't fault it. It was a perfect book and it had to get my first 5-star rating of 2021. Next book I'm going to tell you guys about is a book that I have just finished, so it hasn't even been in like a monthly wrap up yet, and that book is Honey Girl by Morgan Rodgers. I literally just finished this a few days ago and I can't stop thinking about it. It's absolutely incredible. I, once again, cannot fault this book, and that tends to happen with my 5-star books. They literally have to be perfect. I have to, once I finish the book, think it over, and if I can't find any faults in it, nothing that agged me, nothing that I think was written badly, no issues with the plot or what the topics addressed, if none of those things rise up and I think there's an issue with and it's absolutely flawless, it will get a 5 stars, and this was one of those books. I looked back on it and I literally cannot fault this book. It was incredible. If you didn't know, this book basically follows our main character, Grace Porter, and she's always been perfect. She's always been under the pressure of her military father, having to do her best and striving to be her best self. She has a master's, a PhD and a doctorate all in astronomy. So when she graduates all her university courses, all her education, she takes a trip to Las Vegas with her 2 best friends. But on that trip, she gets so drunk that she marries a girl that she's just met. But in the next morning, she wakes up and that girl has gone from the bed and she has no clue where she's gone, what she's up to and what she even looks like. She cannot remember. She's blackout drunk. It's just something stupid that she did and she's never put a step wrong. So this is so out of Grace's character. So she doesn't tell anyone and she keeps it close to her heart, and she's trying to discover who this mystery girl is. And it's a book about self-discovery and self-love and just doing what's right for you rather than feeling the society's pressure of what you should be doing. And Morgan Rodgers' writing was so incredible. I can't say anything more apart from this book was incredible. It was so good. This is just a video of me being like, this is amazing, that's incredible, read it, because it was pure perfection. I'm not sure if this is a YA or adult, but it felt more of an adult romance to me. So if you are kind of a YA reader, just be aware of that before going into it. It has great LGBTQ rep in this book as well, and the life lessons I learned in this. Like, Morgan Rodgers wrote some like exquisite life lessons in the voice of one of the side characters, and yeah, it was absolutely incredible. I read it in 2 days because it is under 300 pages and I just wanted to devour it, much like Me, My Dad and The End of the Rainbow. So these are the only 2 5-star books I've rated this year. Out of like the 36 books I've read this year, only 2 of them have made the 5-star cut. But I don't care because these books I will treasure for the rest of my life. I actually want to reread Honey Girl right now and I literally finished it last week. So if that doesn't say something, then I don't know what does. But yeah, these are the only 2 5-star books I rated this year. The other 3 books I want to mention in this video are all 4.5 to almost 5 stars, but it just didn't give me that 5-star feeling. But I absolutely adored them and I loved them so much and I will be keeping them on my bookshelves and all this sort of thing. But they just didn't give me that like 5-star, oh my god, this is a new favourite book feeling. But I absolutely love them and I want to shout them out and recommend them to you guys. So yeah, this is in no particular order, the next 3 books. So the next book I want to shout out is Loveless by Alice Oseman. I feel like this book is already massively hyped on BookTube and for good reason. This book was so good. I read this back in January and it was so close to being 5 stars, but for me it just didn't give me that 5-star feeling. Everything else about this book is actually perfection. For me, just didn't get me that like, oh, warm and cozy and fuzzy and stuff inside like these 2 books did. But still an absolutely incredible read. If you didn't know, this book follows our main character Georgia and she's just finished school and she's about to go to university in Durham. So it's very much a British book and I really appreciated all the British wording and all the British puns and the location and all the setting descriptions. It just really like transported me to like the old whimsical English town and I really appreciated that. But yeah, Georgia goes off to Durham as she's trying to discover who she is. She's never been in love, she's never kissed anyone, but she's always wanted that romantic relationship. She always believes that's been in the cards for her. But when she goes off to Durham University, she starts to truly understand who she is and what her sexuality is. And it's just the most wholesome, I say wholesome a lot, but when books get 5 stars from me, it's because they have that like wholesome, pure feeling that I just can't fault. So I'll be repeating myself a lot in this video. But yeah, I just absolutely adored this book. I think the representation is done brilliantly. I'm not Own Voices, but I have researched into a lot of Own Voices reviewers and a lot of Own Voices absolutely adore this book. So there's all the rights for it to be raved about on BookTube because it is incredible. And if you know me, I don't think you were expecting an Alice Oseman book to reach my top books of 2021 so far because if you know me, I've had a very love-hate relationship with Alice Oseman in the past. I've read all of her books now up to Loveless, which is her latest release. I've read Heartstopper, which I absolutely adore, and I cannot wait for volume 4. So excited for me to roll around for volume 4 and my pre-order to come. Oh, so excited. But all her other books, Radio Silence, I Was Born for This, Solitaire, I feel like there's another one. All those books got like a 2 to 3 star rating from me. I just didn't enjoy them. So I was very skeptical when it came to Loveless. And maybe that's why it didn't get the full 5-star review from me, because I was just holding back a little bit because I just wasn't expecting much from this book at all. It shocked me and I'm so glad it did because I absolutely loved it. The next book I gave a 4.5 stars and I actually put on my Instagram account. If you follow me on Instagram, I Instagram every single book I've read in my stories, and there's a whole 2021 books highlight reel. If you are interested in all the books I've read so far this year, make sure you check me out over on Instagram. It's always linked down below for you guys. But on my highlight reel for this next book, I specifically remember being, I'm gonna rate it 4.5, but it feels like a 5-star book. And I don't know why I didn't rate it 5 stars, because I always think about it and I class it as one of my favourite books of 2021 to date. And that is Good Girl, I'm gonna say Good Girl Bad Blood, but no, I didn't enjoy the sequel as much. This is The Good Girl's Guide to Murder by Holly Jackson. And if it wasn't for BookTube and this community, I would have never picked this book up. This was one of my February TBR book prompts from my TBR game, where I got Twitter to pick a book for me to buy and I had to read it that month. I think the options were Bear Town, Good Girl's Guide to Murder. It was definitely between Good Girl's Guide to Murder, Bear Town and 2 other books, and you guys picked Good Girl's Guide to Murder, and I thank you for that, because if it wasn't for you guys in this community, I would have never picked this book up, and I absolutely devoured it. I read it in an entire weekend and I just wanted to keep knowing where this book was going. If you didn't know, this book is a YA murder mystery about our main character Pip, where she lives in a town where 5 years ago a girl was murdered, and she believes that the murderer was wrongly accused. So as her final school project for A-levels, she reopens the case and wants to delve a bit deeper and bring the accused murderer to justice and bring down the correct person who murdered this young girl. And it's just the most page-turning like thriller. I don't read a lot of thrillers or murder mysteries, but for me, this book just captivated me, and I was on edge. It really drew me into the story. I love Holly Jackson's writing. I think she does such a good job at weaving all the like clues and stuff into like the storyline for you to think you're going in one direction and then you get completely switched around and you're going in a different direction and you're on tender hooks the entire time. And oh, it's just such a great book. If you haven't read this book yet, I highly recommend you check this out. I feel like a lot of people have already read this book and are very much eagerly awaiting and anticipating the third book in the series, which comes out this August, which I will be pre-ordering because I cannot wait to see how Holly Jackson wraps up Pip's story. And yeah, although I didn't love the second book as much, I really do appreciate this book for what it is, and it's just such a good book. Like, it's not like the most like articulate book and like, you know, like it's not like a classic, but it's just a fun, good old time and a book that you can absorb yourself in for an entire weekend and just binge read, because it's just one of those really good page turning books. I just wanted to shout out to lovely ladies, Rhiannon and Carys. Rhiannon from The Welsh Reader and Carys from Carys's Corner, and they were the people who made me read this book as soon as I did, and I made 2 great friendships out of reading this book as well. So this book just has a special place in my heart in 2021. And the last book I want to mention, and I have saved it till last because it is a reread and I have already classed it as one of my favourite books, but reading it this year just reignited my love for this series and this writer and these characters and this whole world that this writer has written, and that is I Heart New York by Lindsey Kelk. I've always considered this as one of my favourite books / one of my favourite series of all time, just because it just captivated me and I absolutely adore the characters and where they go, and I love Angela as a main character. If you didn't know, this book basically follows our main character Angela. When she finds her fiance cheating at her best friend's wedding, she just says, screw this, I'm gonna move my life to New York City and create a whole new life for myself there. And she does exactly that and meets a whole new range of characters. She meets a new best friend and she really starts to settle down and feel like New York is her home. And you just follow the adventures of Angela in New York, being a British person, and it's just like, it's just a classic. It's just a classic adult rom-com chick lit book that I feel like, it's not the most perfectly written book. It was written in 2009, so bear that in mind when you go into it. But for me, it just brings me a whole like sense of comfort. It's such a comfort read for me, and possibly maybe a guilty pleasure because it is not the most perfectly written book, like I said. But you can tell I loved it because look at those tabs. Look how beautiful that is. And you also know that I love it because I don't write in books. I find it very weird. Doesn't make me comfortable. But when I started rereading this book back in March, I couldn't help myself. I had to write in it. I needed all my thoughts and feelings to go down on paper with this book. It's just one of the examples. I'm not going to obviously go through all of them, but it's just the most wholesome book. I don't want to keep saying wholesome, but it is. It just brings me so much comfort, and I cannot wait to reread the rest of the series because I feel like I say this a lot, but I originally read this 8-book series. It's an 8-book series on audiobook on Scribd a couple of years ago, and I never kind of got round to collecting them as physical copies, but recently I wanted to collect the physical copies so I could reread them, tab them up, and apparently write in them. So this was the first book I needed to do that with. I do have I Heart Hollywood on my next book to read, as this is the second book, but I have yet to reread it and tab it up. But I cannot wait for the day for me to be able to do that because I just know that I'm in for a really good time with these books, and I cannot wait to reread the entire series. So yeah, that wraps up my top books I read so far in 2021. We have some gems here. I may not have read like 25-star books, but I read some really great books that will be with me for the rest of my life, and I anticipate these still being in my top books of 2021 by the end of the year after I read another like 40-50 books. Who knows what the year has in store for me, but so far these are the best books I've read in 2021. Let me know what are your top books you've read so far in 2021 and which ones you've rated 5 stars. I would love to know and get some more recommendations from you guys. And you seem to have my taste down to a T. So let me know in the comments down below. If you enjoyed this video, make sure you give it a massive thumbs up. Subscribe down below to see future content from me. I do anything from book recommendation videos, reading vlogs, TBR games, and everything your bookish heart could desire. So make sure you're subscribed so you never miss any future content from me. And without further ado, I will see you in my next video. Bye guys. 5 stars, 5 stars, 5 stars, 5 stars. This was a 5 stars, this was a 5 stars. This was a 4.5. These were a 5 stars. These were a 5 stars. Da da da, dance party with books. Dance party with books. Pa 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 pa.